before they really make any conclusions. Beyond that, it's ironic that rebuilding after this calamity is going to be a stimulus to the economy. We'll see a larger GDP at some point. We won't see a subtraction for all the destruction. In the near term, Kitty Pilgrim just talked about the impact on retail sales. Deborah just talking about this big spike in gas prices. Now that's going to take money out of people's pockets. A very important question is consumer confidence. It's fragile. We know the economy is weak, and now the question is, what will this do? So it's a big question in terms of the economy. And then, of course, there's also some questions about the Federal Reserve. McTeer also in his speech today made the point that the Federal Reserve is fully functioning. And while people are talking a lot about what size interest rate cut we're going to get, the first thing the Fed is doing is making sure that there is plenty of liquidity for the banks, for the financial markets to keep going.
Well, Kathleen, you make a very important point talking about liquidity versus interest rate cuts. A lot of focus until this tragedy on interest rate cuts. But moving $80 billion of liquidity into the world financial systems, as the central banks have done, is frankly far more important.
Absolutely, because as you know, the thing we have to do is maintain confidence in our financial system, and that's one of the Fed's first priorities, is to back up the system in times of distress. You remember in the 1987 stock market crash, one of the first things Greenspan did was to come out and say the Fed stands ready to provide liquidity.
And the confidence that's being asserted in these markets, the New York Bond Club had canceled its meeting for tomorrow night. And we learned today that indeed that's been changed.
That's very interesting, isn't it, Lou? Very important that apparently the White House said, no, don't cancel the speech. We want Mr. Lindsay to speak. Again, we want to show the world that we are still up and running. Parallel to that, the Bond Market Association, which apparently is calling for trading tomorrow. This is a recommendation. They make it clear nobody has to trade.
Right.
And the dealers themselves have a lot of questions about the phone systems. Only one broker right now is fully functioning, but apparently I spoke to a couple of people who are members, and they say that there was considerable urging, if not pressure, from the Treasury Department to, if you please could, go out and trade tomorrow.
And we should be clear, the men and women who run these brokerages and these bond houses, they want that trading restored as well to establish vigor and stability in the world fixed income markets as well.
And don't you get the feeling when you talk to people too that so many people have lost colleagues, comrades, and I think also maybe out of respect for them to keep going and to maintain a very strong tradition and pride that these people really have as professionals in their business.
You see in a tragedy like this, and unfortunately there has never been a tragedy like this with its dimension, that Wall Street is about a lot more than simply money and greed and fear. It's about a commitment to a way of life as well, and we're going to see that amply demonstrated, I know we're all sure, over the next several days. Kathleen, thank you. Kathleen Hayes. Well, in the wake of yesterday's attacks, Washington is taking dramatic steps to ensure financial stability both here and abroad. And Tim O'Brien has that part of our story tonight. Tim?
Lou, the Bush administration and the Federal Reserve have acted firmly over the last 36 hours to assure the safety of the U.S. financial system, even with some senior U.S. officials traveling overseas. Alan Greenspan was back at the Fed by early afternoon, returning via U.S. military jet from meetings in Switzerland. But even from Europe, the Fed chairman did direct the injection of billions of dollars of added liquidity into the system. The Fed also made what it calls a substantially higher level of loans directly to banks yesterday through its discount window. The Fed tells Moneyline that it will keep that source of liquidity available past normal working hours today to ensure stability. Greenspan and the Fed are acting in concert with other central bankers, pumping a reported $120 billion of added liquidity into world markets. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Paul O'Neill is returning to Washington, cutting short an official visit to Asia. O'Neill called the nation's financial markets strong and resilient and expressed his belief they would continue to operate smoothly. The International Monetary Fund has also been watching world markets. While expressing dismay over the attacks against the U.S., IMF Managing Director Horst Kohler issued a statement saying the IMF projects only a limited impact on the international economy. The IMF and World Bank are also facing suggestions from city officials here in Washington that they postpone or cancel their annual meetings scheduled for September 29th and 30th here. Sources at both organizations tell Moneyline no decision has been made, but the issue will face serious discussion in coming days.